Hey, 8th graders. So today we're going to be previewing what you're going to do with the text of the Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, Chapter 5, called Hope Against Hope. I'm going to do a quick overview with you, and then you're going to be on your own to be annotating the text to answer or stop and jot questions. Our objective today is that we can analyze how particular lines of dialogue, and dialogue is what people say or conversations that they have, how these lines of dialogue reveal aspects of Mr. P's character. Mr. P is the math teacher, and we're going to be focused on him today. How are we going to do that? So our task is we're going to underline Mr. P's dialogue throughout this chapter. So anytime Mr. P is speaking, you should be underlining. And then you're going to consider what Mr. P is saying and how he is saying it. So not only what words are coming out of his mouth, but how does he say it? What emotions does he have? And then really focusing on that last question is, what does this reveal about his character? So the conversation that he's having with Junior, what does this show us about Mr. P? I'm going to do this first section for you before setting you on your own. Chapter 5, Hope Against Hope. Of course, I was suspended from school after I smashed Mr. P in the face, even though it was a complete accident. Okay, so it wasn't exactly an accident. After all, I wanted to hit something when I threw that ancient book, but I didn't want to hit somebody. And I certainly didn't plan on breaking the nose of a mafiosa math teacher. That's the first time you've ever hit anything you've aimed at, my big sister said. We are so disappointed, my mother said. We are so disappointed in you, my father said. My grandmother just sat in her rocking chair and cried and cried. I was ashamed. I had never really been in trouble before. A week into my suspension, I was sitting on our front porch thinking about stuff, contemplating, when old Mr. P walked up our driveway. He had a big bandage on his face. I'm sorry about your face, I said. I'm sorry they suspended you, he said. I hope you know it wasn't my idea. After I smashed him in the face, I figured Mr. P wanted to hire a hitman. Well, maybe that's taking it too far. Mr. P didn't want me dead, but I don't think he would have minded if I'd been the only survivor of a plane that crashed into the Pacific Ocean. So in this section, I'm really only underlining these two sentences that Mr. P says. I'm sorry they suspended you, and I hope you know it wasn't my idea. I'm going to restate my question and answer it here. What does Mr. P say here? Choose the most important line of dialogue. So I'm only choosing between two, but I'm going to restate. The most important line of dialogue is when Mr. P says, I'm sorry they suspended you. That's the only thing I need to answer for this first question, but now I need to kind of dive in a little deeper. How does this line of dialogue reveal aspects of Mr. P's character? So what does it tell us about him? So once again, restating this line of dialogue reveals that Mr. P is a caring person and he doesn't want Junior to be in trouble. So even though Junior broke his nose, he still is coming over to make sure Junior's okay, to tell him he's sorry that he was suspended. So that shows me that Mr. P is caring. So that's all I'm going to do with you. You're kind of on your own now to keep annotating for Mr. P's dialogue, underlining what he says, and analyzing what it tells us or reveals about him. Now what you can do is, if you go to the ELA tab for your class, you have